Welcome to Morning Coffee. You know, as a kid growing up in a church, I was taught a lot of things about God. But then, like many kids, when they hit their adolescence, uh, they fall away. And a big part of that reason is because they are taught what to believe, not why they believe it. And kids, they have a lot of questions, but a lot of times they will get answers like, well, because that's who we are, or, well, it's because of what we do. It's just what we do, you know, and they are not taught why they believe it. And honestly, those are not even answers. So, and I was one of those kids. My parents in the home, they didn't teach me anything about God, much less why we believed it. So, over the next few weeks, I want to try to tackle some of these questions. And so this morning, I'm going to start with, does God exist? So, you think about it, and it may seem like it's a topic of debate, but it really isn't. So whether you believe in God or not, it shapes your life. It shapes the way you live. And if you believe in a God of love and justice and truth, it shapes you in the way you make your decisions, the way you treat other people, the way you deal with suffering. And if you don't believe a God, or maybe you're not sure if he existed or not, that shapes you too, and it's like how you make sense of life, who you are, and how you handle suffering. Mm, mhm. So, but we all have choices as to what we're going to choose to believe, whether it's in the Big Bang Theory, whether it's evolution, or whether we're actually going to believe in God. Now, to start with the Big Bang Theory, it is an idea that the galaxies, the stars, and the planets happen during at a very intensive hot moment. Then it expanded and bang, there everything was. Many people, they call this evidence as to how things got started, why things got started. But this would only explain the how. It doesn't explain why the universe came to be. Now, if the universe had a beginning, then it would not be eternal. There's something or someone brought it into existence. And we have evolution. Now, it might explain how life changes over the time, through different processes, but it still doesn't explain the why or even how it exists. And then we have, of course, there's science and we have God. Science and God, they do not work against one another. They actually work together. Science shows us how it works, but God gives it meaning and purpose. Creation is more than just some random chaos that had happened. It points to someone with wisdom and power as well as intention. And in Genesis 1:1, it tells us in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now, scientists does not prove that there is no God, but it is a way to test, to predict, and to observe the world, the universe. But God is the reason that there is a universe to observe and to study. The how of creation does not cancel out the why. The laws of nature aren't just random chaos, they were ordered. And science can show you the patterns, but it doesn't tell you why they exist. In Luke 21:11, it says, there will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilence in various places, and fearful events and great signs from heaven. And Luke 21:25 and 26 said, there will be signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars. On earth, the nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and the tossing of the sea. See, Jesus himself spoke these words because he is the divine creator. And Psalms 103:19 states that God rules over all. And in Colossians 1:16 and 17 states that all things were created by God for God. Now, having faith doesn't mean that you have all the answers. It's about trusting in God's presence that it is bigger than what we can observe or even explain. Science allows us to stand in awe of creation, whereas faith allows you to see its significance. So then, if everything has a beginning, what about God? Well, Psalms 90, verse 2 tells us, before the mountains were brought forth, or ever you had formed the earth and the world, from everlasting to everlasting, you are God. See, God doesn't have a beginning because he is eternal. God has always existed. But it's kind of like, well, counting forward and the backwards. You never run out of numbers. Numbers just goes on forever and ever. There was never a time when God did not exist. He's been here forever and he will be here forever because he is eternal. Now, knowing God, that God exists and that he is eternal, we can see how science can complement God's creation by helping us to understand better. And God, the being eternal, says that he saw the beginning, he sees the here and now, and that he knows the future and he can see the end of all existence here on earth. See, we can only see what's right in front of us. It's kind of like watching a parade. We can't see the beginning and the end. We can only see what's in front of us. But God, he sees the beginning all the way through the end. So you see, we don't need to have the whole picture to trust in God and that he exists. Amen. Thank you so much. And please, won't you join me next week while we see what God is like? Okay. Thank you so much.